Welcome to Intro to the iPad Part 1, or You Just Got an iPad, Now What? I'm Denise Jaffe, and I'm very happy to be here today. We have so much important information to cover. You can get out your iPads or take out a piece of paper, but I wanted you to know that you can download this presentation at the end. I'm going to give you a link to do so you can sit back and relax. There's going to be a lot of information covered, and it's all important information and things that you need to know to be able to utilize your iPad in the bring your own device environment. So let's move on. The first thing I want to talk about is what kind of iPad you have and what that really means. The iPad mini and the iPad 2 are roughly identical in what their capabilities are. They both have the same core. Their battery life is 10 hours. Of course, the iPad mini is smaller, and they don't have a Retina display. The biggest difference is the connector at the very bottom. The iPad 2, which is what we're buying in the district right now, has a 30-pin connector, which is roughly an inch in size. And the iPad mini and the iPad, which is the iPad 3, 4, 5, Apple stopped naming the iPads after the iPad 2, and the iPad is just whatever the newest version is. All use the new Lightning connectors, which are much smaller and a little bit more expensive. If you have a classroom that has a mix of these, this might become important because you cannot mix and match a 30-pin on an iPad mini and so on. So they're very specific to their connectors. The battery life is an important and interesting piece of information. They're all 10 hours, which is really nice. What it boils down to basically is any iPad that you're running, as long as it's running the latest iOS version, which currently is 6.0.3, just came out. All generations of the iPad can do basically the same thing, and they can run the same apps, except for the iPad 1, which we have plenty of in the district. The iPad 1 does not have a camera, and some apps will not run on the iPad 1, although they're very usable. But if they have the iOS version 6.0.3, they can pretty much do the same thing. The biggest difference is the newer they are, the faster they are, and the screen size and the connector size. For anything that we're going to be using in the district, you will not even notice the difference. Now, you have your iPad. What's next? First, it's important to know who owns that iPad. Is it a personal device, or was it provided to you from the district? If it's a personal device, you should have an iTunes account that's connected to a personal email address, not to your West Hartford email address, because on another device, you're going to want to use your West Hartford email address for that. If the device is provided by the district, you need to determine whether it was given to you to use personally for district use, or is it going to be a classroom device that was purchased with like 20 iPads for use throughout a building. And that becomes important too. We'll talk about that as we move on. For your personal devices, again, you should set it up with your personal iTunes account. And use your email address on that, your personal email address on that iTunes account. And you're going to connect that iPad to the West Hartford Public Schools guest wireless network. This is part of our bring your own device policies. Any student can bring in their personal device, any teacher can bring in their personal device and attach them to the West Hartford guest account. And we're going to go through the steps to do that shortly. If the iPad is a professional device, it was purchased for you through West Hartford Public Schools for your use only, there's a couple of pieces of information that you should know. One, your iTunes account should be set up with your West Hartford Public School email address. You can download free apps at any time, and you can purchase apps. You can attach your credit card to that iTunes account and get reimbursed in the building as well. You can also purchase apps through our volume purchase plan that we've set up in the district. And the volume purchase plan may be for an app such as Prolo Quo, which costs $139. You might not want to use your credit card and get reimbursed for that. You might want to use your school codes or PO to make that purchase. In order to do that, you're going to have to get your PO information or the school credit card information and discuss it with your principal or district or supervisor to get that information. And then you'll need to contact Lindsay Roberts, the district technology integration specialist. What Lindsay's going to do is make the purchase for you on the volume purchase plan, and she's going to email you a redemption code. And in your iTunes account that's set up with your West Hartford email address, you're going to use that redemption code to purchase the app. So again, if you have a district-owned device that's for your use only, you're going to set it up with your iTunes account that's connected to your West Hartford email address. You can download free apps at any time. You can purchase apps using your credit card and get reimbursed, or if they're personal apps, you just pay for them, or you can use the volume purchase plan with a building purchasing code or PO to make that choice. The third option is if you have 10 or 20 or 30 iPads that were purchased for use in your building. You're going to use it for a grade level, for a department, and so on. So you have a bunch of them. What West Hartford Public Schools does upon receipt of this purchase of a group of iPads is we create an iTunes account for those iPads. It also may be preloaded with a suite of apps that you may have selected yourself or a team may have selected, and they may already be on those iPads. What you should do first is request the username and password of that iTunes account that was set up for your building or for those devices. And this is going to allow you to log into that iTunes account and play with some free apps that you may want to download on a particular device. Where it gets complicated is that when you decide that you want to purchase apps for those iPads, you cannot purchase them individually. You have to go through the volume purchase plan. So as an example, you want to purchase something called Puppet Pals, which allows you to create digital storytelling using puppets. That costs currently 99 cents per device. If you have 20 devices, it's going to cost you around $20. You would need to go to your building principal or your department head and get a school code, and then contact Lindsay Roberts and give her that school code information and make the request for 20 copies of Puppet Pals. Lindsay's going to go onto the volume purchase plan website, make the purchase for you, and then she's going to send those 20 redemption codes to your building tech, and your building tech needs to install them on the 20 iPads. A little more complicated than just installing them yourself or downloading them yourself. So again, your three choices are for personal devices. Of course, they're attached to your personal credit card and to your personal email address. You can, download or install or purchase any apps you want. For district-owned devices, if it's just your device that's district-owned, you would set it up using your West Hartford Public School email account on your iTunes, and you can download apps, pay for apps with your credit card, or use the volume purchase plan. For groups of iPads that have been purchased for a grade level or for a building, it is going to come preloaded with an iTunes account that was created by IT. It may have some apps on there already that were purchased by your choice or by building choice. You should request your username and password to be able to get into that iTunes account and download free apps to play with. And any paid apps that you decide on need to go through your building principal for a code, and then to Lindsay Roberts to make the purchase, and then to your building tech to do the install. A little more complicated, but it's just the way it is. Okay. There are many manuals out there that walk you through intro to your iPad. You probably didn't come with a manual, which is why you're here today. And most of what is in the manuals we're going to cover in the slides that are to follow. So you pull your iPad out of the box, and it's sitting on your lap, and you turn it on with the on switch at the very top right hand corner, and you get to the screen. To get past the screen, you have to slide the button to the right to set it up. It's going to ask you what language you want to set this up as. You're going to choose English unless you're a world language teacher, and click on the arrow in the upper right hand corner. Then you're going to choose the United States and click on Next. You're going to set this up as a new iPad. For any new iPad that you receive, the most obvious choice will be new iPad. The other choices, restore from iCloud backup and restore from iTunes, will become very valuable after you've set up this account. Next, you're going to turn on iCloud. The iCloud sync will be really valuable to you as you get more comfortable with your iPad. You will not regret having turned this option on. I always turn this on and click on Next. And the location services I always turn on. In the event that your iPad gets lost or that you leave it somewhere, you can locate the place that the iPad is by using the location services. It is worth its weight in gold. Then you're going to get the choice to sign in to iTunes with your Apple ID. Your Apple ID is your iTunes login information. If you have it already set up with your personal email for another iPad or for your iPod or for something else, and this is a professional device, you're going to create a free Apple ID, a new one, using your West Hartford Public School email address. You do not want to use your personal email information on a professional West Hartford device. One of the things I love about the iPad is when you get into a field that asks you for information, the keyboard automatically pops up on the bottom of the screen, allowing you to just type. The bottom right-hand corner of the keyboard, that little picture of a keyboard, gets rid of it. So it always pops up when you're in a field where data entry is expected. Under diagnostics, I always choose do not send diagnostics. I don't want the extra bandwidth. And I can send diagnostics when I'm ready to instead of automatically. So I always turn this feature off. At this point, you're ready to start using your iPad. You click the Start Using iPad button, and you're at the main iPad screen with the 20 default apps that come with your iPad. Just a little bit of information about this screen. The top part of the screen tells you that your iPad is connected. There's the bandwidth. That little fan next to the word iPad is telling you how strong your connection is. You got the date. It tells you how much battery power in the upper right-hand corner. At the very bottom of the iPad is your tray, and you can put your most used apps at this location. Right above the tray, you'll see these little dots. You only have one page currently of apps, but you can have up to 4 pages of apps, and you will see 4 dots allowing you to know which page you're on and to go from page to page. So just a little bit of quick information about the initial login screen. So you have configured your iPad to start running to get to that main home screen. What do you do next? These 4 steps we're going to run through together. One is to configure your Wi-Fi to work in West Hartford Public Schools. The next is to set up your West Hartford email, calendar, and contacts. We're going to do some shopping in the App Store, and then we're going to go to Safari to browse the web. So let's get started. First, for your professional devices, anything that's been purchased for West Hartford Public Schools, your tech support specialist is responsible for setting up the Wi-Fi on those iPads. What he or she is going to do is set them up on the West Hartford Public Schools secure network. You cannot do this yourself. The network is hidden, so it must be done by them. If it has not been done, put it on the help desk or grab them to set them up. It takes about 5 minutes to do, but again, you cannot do this yourself. If it is a personally owned device, you'll need to set up the Wi-Fi by yourself, and this is the same steps that your students use when they bring their devices in and want to use them on the network. Just a word about setting up your devices in West Hartford Public Schools, whether it's on the guest or the secure network. That works within West Hartford schools, but when you go home or you go to Panera or you go to um, um, Starbucks, it's going to connect to those networks as well. So it's not just going to connect to West Hartford. Any place you go that broadcasts wireless, your iPad is set to pick them up as well. Um, okay, so when you're connecting as a guest, you're going to have two choices. The choices are going to be anonymous, which when you log in anonymously, it's going to attach to the network for 24 hours and then it's going to forget you. If you decide to use your West Hartford username and password, those credentials and that username and password are what you use to get onto the computers in your building. So it's last name, first name, and whatever your password is to get onto the West Hartford network in your buildings. Those credentials allow you to stay attached for 12 months. That's a huge thing. So if you connect this iPad as a guest, using your West Hartford credentials, you can go into any building in West Hartford Public Schools, Town Hall, or any of the 16 schools, and be connected for the next 12 months. And this is the same for you and your students. So if they bring in a device and they connect using their West Hartford credentials, they will be connected for the next 12 months. You can do this with up to 5 devices, and again, it's available for all staff and students. So let's see what it looks like. First, you would go to the settings button, which is one of the default icons when you get any iPad, and you would choose Wi-Fi. And as it's broadcasting, it's going to pick up the WHPS Wi-Fi. You've probably seen this on your phones. You can see this on your laptop. And you're going to click on WHPS Wi-Fi. You're going to wait a second or two until you see a check mark, a bold check mark next to that option. That means you are connected. You're not fully connected yet. There's another step that you have to go through. So we're going to get out of the settings tab by pressing the home button and get back to your main screen on your iPad. At this point, you go to step 2. And step 2 is to go to Safari or go to browse the web. You're going to click on the Safari button, which is probably on the tray. And Safari is the Google or Internet Explorer of your iPad. Google Chrome has an app you can download and use, but the iPad comes with Safari. So when you click on Safari and you're going to browse the web, which means in the search box in the upper right-hand corner, choose to search for Facebook or Google or Twitter or something like that. And when you go to search, this screen at the very bottom of the slide is what's going to show up. It's just like when you're in a hotel and you go to get on the internet and you have to go through a series of screens by that hotel to be connected and accept their acceptable use policy and so on. It's the same thing. So down at the bottom of the screen, it says click here to connect to the network. You have to click that to get to this next screen, which is going to ask you, how do you want to log in? Again, on the left, you're going to use your network login with your credentials, the same as you would do to get on a computer. Last name, first name, up to 10 characters, whatever password. If you log in with your network credentials, you're on in that device for 12 months in any school. If you register as a guest on the right-hand side, you're going to be logged in for the next 24 hours, and then you're going to be forgotten. Once you've logged in using your credentials or as anonymous, you're going to be required to accept our acceptable use policy, and after that, you are connected to the internet. You are ready to go. The next thing we're going to do is set up your email. So once you're connected to the internet, now we can go to your email. You would again go back to settings and this time choose mail, contacts, and calendars. Your first response is going to want to be to choose Gmail. Seems obvious, but we're going to choose Exchange. Actually, Microsoft worked out a way to get your calendar much better than Gmail, than Google did. So click on Exchange, and you're going to enter your email, your password for your West Hartford Public School email account, and under description, say West Hartford email. And then click the next button, and it's going to ask you for a little bit more information. The server, which is m.google.com, the domain, WHPS.org, and your username, which is first name underscore last name only from your email address. Do not add at WHPS.org, and then click next. At this screen, the next screen, it's going to ask you if you want to enable your contacts and your calendar as well. I turned everything on. I like to look at my email. I like to have access to my calendar. When you turn contacts on, the West Hartford Public School address book is available when you're setting up your email and your contact list. It makes it much easier and much smoother to work, but it's your choice whether you want to turn these on and off. After I do that, I click done, and you are on your West Hartford email. A couple of things, I'm just going to go back here for a second. You can add multiple email accounts. You can add your personal email account, your Hotmail account, your Gmail account, your SnapMail account, and get all of your email accounts in the same location. At this point, your iPad is going to start beeping, and that's when you receive emails. And I don't know if you've ever been in a room full of people with iPads, but those beeps end up all over the place because everyone's receiving mail and their email has been enabled. Okay, next we got you on the West Hartford Public School Wi-Fi. We've set up your email, your calendar, and your contacts, and now we're going to go shopping. The App Store icon comes, of course, with your iPad. So when you click on that, it takes you into the App Store automatically. In the upper right-hand corner is a search bar. You can search for, make sure you choose the apps search. And let's just do a quick search for iBooks. iBooks is a really, really nice free app. You can get all sorts of books that you can read or will read to you. And it actually creates a bookshelf that you can add apps to. When you see an app that's free, it says free, and then you actually have to click on the word free, and it will change to a green button that says install app. And then you click on that green button, and it will start to install. Once it's installed, you will see it on your desktop, and you can double click on it to run it. You may want to take a minute here to stop and go searching for some other apps. Your choice, but I like to look at free apps and install those myself. App shopping is very addicting. My wise words to you is it is good practice to learn a few apps very well. At this resource, globallyconnectedlearning.com, and actually Kathy Schrock has done this in quite detail as well. They broke down apps by Bloom's taxonomy. You might want to just focus on particular levels of this in your curriculum development and try and think about different apps that you want to learn better. We will be doing webinars on many of these apps, such as Audio Boo and Puppet Pal. Explain Everything is a wonderful, wonderful app that is cross-discipline. Keynote is like PowerPoint, but it costs $10, so it's an expensive option. You might want to look for free options that do the same thing. So you could spend a lot of time here. Again, I recommend learn a few apps well. The next thing we're going to do is browse the web. The Safari tab that comes with every iPad is the Apple, Google, or Internet Explorer. You can, again, there's a free app for Google, but for today we're going to just click on Safari, and it looks like any other internet browser. In the upper right-hand corner is the search bar. To the left of that is where you would type in URLs. Right underneath the search bar is a plus sign that allows you to open new windows, just like in Google Chrome. You can use that book, the picture of the book, to bookmark sites or look at the history that you've been looking at. One of the cool things about the iPad is any place you double click will zoom in and zoom out on a page. So if you want to see something zoomed in, just double click on it, and to zoom out, double click on it again. I'm done with new information for today. You can download the handout to this webinar at this link, I highly recommend taking the Part 2 course, which is going to talk a little bit more about the anatomy of your iPad and how to get around on your iPad and what the buttons mean and so on. It's been a pleasure